Senator Rosen.
Well, thank you, Senator Ricketts, for filling in for Chairman Risch, and Ranking Member Shaheen for holding this hearing today. And thank you, Congresswoman Stefanik, for your decade of service in the House, for volunteering to serve our country in this new role. I enjoyed working with you when we were on the House Space Science and Technology Committee. I want to congratulate you again on your nomination. And I do really appreciate your comments today about how you'll tackle anti-Israel bias at the UN, which, of course, I'm also extremely concerned about. But it's precisely because of that bias that I believe we must lean in to leadership at the UN, not diminish our role. And as you and I discussed last week, if we're not at the table, our seat will be taken by someone who does not share our values and does not defend our allies. And so I'm going to move on to some other questions that haven't been asked, and I'm going to move on to Lebanon because there's a lot going on. And the UN Security Council Resolution 1701 states there should be no armed presence in southern Lebanon other than the Lebanese armed forces. UNIFIL is charged with monitoring and enforcing this resolution. But instead of disarming, Hezbollah has expanded its military presence, stockpiled weapons, constructed tunnels, often outmatching UNIFIL peacekeepers who are not mandated for broad offensive actions, especially against a terrorist group like Hezbollah. Even in the wake of Israel's successful degrading of Hezbollah forces and the LAF moving into southern Lebanon, it is clear that something has to change. UNIFIL must support the effort if more of these achievements are to be sustained. So, Congresswoman Stefanik, how can the U.S. ensure that UN Security Council Resolution 1701 is fully enforced, and how will you work within the UN system to ensure that UNIFIL can play a significant support role in maintaining security in Lebanon?
Thank you, Senator Rosen. It's a very important question. I'm glad you raised it. UNIFIL has not met its mission. It has failed as we've seen the digging of the tunnels, as we've seen tens of thousands of rockets from Hezbollah into Israel. And we've had tens of thousands of Israeli families who have had to leave their homes in northern Israel because of the rockets. We need to ensure that UNIFIL is a peacekeeping mission that we need to do an assessment of. It has failed in its mission, and we're going to have a strategy moving forward. I do think this is an opportunity with the effective operations of Israel against Hezbollah and Hamas leadership to continue to build on that success, to not have these regime of terror continue to grow in those regions.
Well, thank you. I look forward to working with you on that. And staying in the region, I want to focus on Syria for a moment because the UN Security Council also has an opportunity to play a critical role in supporting Syria's political transition following the fall of Assad's brutal regime. The U.S. had previously supported UN Security Council Resolution 2254, which provided a roadmap for an inclusive, non-sectarian Syrian government. But this resolution was passed nearly a decade ago, and a lot has changed in the last 10 years. So what do you think the role of Security Council Resolution 2254 should play in Syria's future? And if it is outdated, I know you'll take a look and review it. Do you have an opinion about what might need to change or how we respond to recent developments?
I think it's a starting point that we need to look at. Obviously, this is a significant change within the region, within the Middle East, with the Assad regime, which I condemned consistently during my time in Congress. The brutality, the human rights, the chemical weapons used against the Syrian people. We need to be cautious and judicious with the new leadership in Syria. We cannot allow it to be a den of terror against its own people. So I would view that as a starting point as we discuss this on the National Security Council and as the President makes his decisions for the best approach when it comes to our approach to Syria.
And being sure that we deliver that humanitarian aid that we need. I want to finish my last few seconds talking about UNESCO and artificial intelligence. So the field of artificial intelligence rapidly evolving, again, critical. We have a seat at the table to develop shared AI standards, guardrails, best practices. UNESCO has become an important forum for global conversations around the ethical development and use of AI, and produced the first ever global standards on AI ethics in November of 2021. We know China's made a concerted effort to increase its engagement with standard-setting bodies, including UNESCO. And do you agree that Chinese influence in international AI standards pose a national security risk for the United States? And how would you go about working on artificial intelligence standards?
Yes, I'm deeply concerned about China's standards within the AI framework. I think we need to win the AI race. This is an issue that I've worked extensively on a bipartisan basis on the House Armed Services Committee. I helped stand up the Joint AI Center within DoD. We need to work with the private sector as well to unleash our AI capabilities to be the world leader and work with partners. I think this is a real opportunity to work with partners and allies around the world to make sure that our standards, based upon the ethical use of AI, that is the approach. When it comes to UNESCO, this will be a decision at the presidential level, but certainly I understand the importance of U.S. leadership when it comes to AI and global standard setting.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.